how are you? It's MJ from Alta Love, and I'm currently in my car. It's pissing it down, and I've just finished a yoga session at one of the Super Posh retreats that I work at. And this is a share that I actually shared on the Fearless Life Tribe. The Fearless Life Tribe is like my subscription membership study group, people who are really earnestly practicing with the Fearless Life Guide. And I share pretty much every day there. And I also shared something similar on Alta Love's Facebook. So if you guys ever want a little more Alta Love vibes, which is just me talking about stuff that's inside, feel free to look at those as well, so you can check out my Instagram. All of the description is usually down below, not right this instant, because I usually upload the description after my share. So today's topic is really about manifestation and how facing reality can actually slow down our manifestation. And of course, it's like what we're told to do. Like, come on, I mean, fuck, the amount of times people have told me to get with the real world, and now I can look back and be like, haha, like, and those were ultimately moments in my life where I was like bottom of the barrel, like no money, no job, no direction, drinking like I want to kill myself, and then, you know, listen, and then emotionally fucking just like distraught, and people being like, Molly, you need to get with the real world, you need to, you know, face da 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 da. And I would just be like, but why? Like, just because I'm feeling this way doesn't, you know, doesn't mean it's always going to be like this, you know? And ultimately, it came down to the fact that the world that those people were living in, I just didn't get. I was like, so I'm supposed to just bend over and live in a world that impoverishes people, enslaves people, and we're all just slaves and we're going to be miserable. It's like, that's awesome. That's life. That's what I want. No. So here's the point. The happier I get, the more free I feel. It ultimately has a lot to do with me ignoring the reality, fully aware. Here's the juice of life, is that my awakenings were born of separation because there are so many sort of injustices in the world, and I was like, why aren't we trying to sort out the issues, you know? And here I am, just like a 19 or 20-year-old girl, just being like, come on, people, like, we should really care about this shit. And people being like, Molly, you need to get with the real world. You need to stop being so sensitive and stop caring and just get a fucking job. And, I mean, I've always had jobs as well. That's the point. I've always worked. I just, some work didn't align with me, you know. Doing this as a job and yogaing as a job much more aligns with my inner point of attraction of bringing peace to the world, bringing more love, more well-being, more radiance into the world, right? So having people in the context of yoga is a really beautiful environment ultimately, and much better for me than, say, working in a retail store or working in a shop that is part of, like, to me, part of like the issues, right? I don't want to sell more clothes to people because that doesn't align with where my heart is wanting me to go. So, this is really just off the back of working with people and having sessions, and I'm sure, I know I do it too, otherwise I wouldn't be having the reaction. But this is like how we talk about, like, you know, facing the reality. This is what is, and not realizing that the reality that we're facing, the reality that we look at, is born from within us already. That we're looking at a past projection. We're always looking, the physical reality is always a past projection. So it's showing us where we've come from. It doesn't have to show us where we're going, but if we continue to reiterate and talk about its reality, we actually keep it in place. We fix it in place. And this is subtle manifestation, or very subtle. And I'm not a master at it. I'm working with it. That's part of the reason I share it, is because sharing it helps me to work it out, and then I feed back with other tribe members their journey and their insights and where they are, and then that all loops back together, and we're working as a mastermind, you could say. So I'm just aware of, like, not necessarily talking in great detail about the circumstances that I don't want to keep as reality. So shifting into your imagination and staying there, and then when it comes to engaging in conversation, just pretend, or talk about all the awesomeness that you're calling in, or talk about all of the beauty and lessons that you've learned up until this point, and let that carry you through. Because that is the biggest part of like the illusion leap, you could say, is that we're always looking at our past projection. Hopefully, humanity will move up vibrationally to the point that we can look at our real-time projections. But if we're not straight up, it's like a cosmic fucking contract. If you're not going to be responsible for your thoughts, we're not going to let you instantaneously manifest. Because, I mean, we don't instantaneously manifest, and we're still wreaking kind of havoc on it. We're still just like throwing it away, fracking, doing all this crazy shit to the planet, and still being like, oh no, all these problems, and yet we're bound to our systematic patterns, right? And here's the point, like working with people, what I've realized is like, we actually defend our reality, even when it's shit. We defend but I want to tell you about how shit my circumstances. But I want to tell you about the reality of how hard my life is. You can see the energy of holding on. I will defend my suffering story, and that for me is like a huge leap for my own personal story, is like freedom, fun, sustainability. Those are things I care about. Veganism, animal rights, social justice, making it like actually pioneering the reality of a new earth and a new paradigm, so that the systems are based on this kind of new vision, this new perspective of unity rather than division, of love rather than fear, of working with rather than power over structure. And yeah, it's obvious, right? Yeah, we have to become a lot more responsible if we want to rise to that place. But always my sessions, my conversations are always geared to this awareness. That's the truth. Like, all of the encounters on some level are me like noticing disparity in energy, noticing where we might be saying one thing, but the energy is actually locking into that as reality. And it's useful to me. It's useful to me as a practitioner of a method, you could say. It's not revolutionary, and it's not even new. This stuff is fucking ancient. It's written in the energy of the cosmos. Our inherent birthright intelligence, our inherent freedom is already written in our makeup. It's all up to us to access it through the light of our awareness and through non-judgment. Because in essence, when we defend our reality, we're in judgment. We're in judgment of self. We're in judgment of our imagination. We're in judgment of like our ability to be creator, and a real creator, right? Like, actually have faith in your energetic output and stop giving this reality so much validity, and that, because to me, in a sense, that's part of the huge issue we have as humans on this planet, is that we're so programmed to hook back into the illusion of reality and call it reality, rather than remembering that our true reality is within us, only ever within. We are the primary creators of the existence and reality that we perceive. And it's only through making that flip over and over again and practicing it with diligence that you're the one creating that which you see, that you can start to, oh, right. Okay, so I've created that. Now what? Now what am I going to create? What do I want instead of this? And not being hard on ourselves. That's a default for me, is like, even as an online coach or whatever, like hitting up against edges and then finishing call being like, oh God, I hope it wasn't too intense, or I hope they feel okay, or and just letting it go and saying it, because part of how I live my life is like, I just have faith that like whatever I face, I can deal with it. Whatever challenge, I can deal with it. Whatever someone asks of me, if I'm meant to do it, I do it, and I can achieve, and I can create, and I can be the person I'm meant to be, but I have to keep showing up as that person, and sometimes certain aspects of my old self are reflected back to me, and it triggers almost as like, I don't want to go back to that person. But then I'm like, okay, calm down. And I'm aware, even though it's not particularly like nice, I'm aware that I'm getting better at making certain inspired action calls in the moment, i.e. ending a call, or meditate. Oh my God. Like, there are definitely moments where my inner guide is just like, sit your ass down, girl. Sit your ass down and meditate because there's too much emotion flowing through. And usually when I have to guide myself to sit down and meditate, it's because I've picked up a whole bunch of streams and I'm just like, yeah, what is this? So come back to my center space, come back to that place where I can yoke my unique essence, you know, and come and feel calm within it and have faith in how things manifest. Because trust, there comes a point where like I'll speak for myself. Okay? Because I'm an Aries and I tend to be quite like ram, like just go forward, just say how it is, and I've learned a lot about that like we're all so unique and different. But you almost want to be quite foolish. You almost just want to jump off the cliff, and that's something where both in the 3 or 4 transformational cycles I've had in my life, I literally create situations where I couldn't do anything else, or just be like, okay, so now I've followed my inner guidance here, and there's no one, there's nothing, there's da-da-da-da-da, and it would basically force me to just like stick at what I was doing and just blind effing faith that things would work out. So that's part of like, this is me, how I would live my life before even like The Secret and Law of Attraction and Abraham and all those teachings came in. That was just me as like an awakening young woman in the world being like, I don't want to do it like that. That it was just pure stubbornness. Being like, what? So you're expecting me just to get a full-time job and work my ass off for my whole life? And because I'd had those awakenings and seen the injustices and the underlying corruption of the system, I was just like, no. So, you know, following my yoga path after near suicide and near-death experiences, trying to pursue an acting career, and then moving into the yoga and going through this healing, it was always like every time, and that is the teaching of Abraham, essentially, you're teaching the law of attraction. My biggest transformational moments always came from such profound, deep suffering that it was just like anything but this. And so, like, for example, when the yoga dropped into my life, the yoga felt natural and easy. It was like I already knew it. I can teach this. I get this. I understand the inner workings of how this practice is meant to work. So, and it was almost like you could say maybe I've done loads of yoga in a different lifetime, or you know, done lots of energetic work or something in various lifetimes. So I have that awareness already. And ultimately, this is how it works. When you're meant to go in a direction, doors open. So it wasn't even like a month before I set up my own classes and then people started asking me to teach, so their doors are opening. Here, it's like doors are opening, but there are moments that you will create in your life where every door is shut around you. And that would be a moment of just being still, being present, and having faith, and yoking the trust, the vibes, the imagination to really follow through with any kind of inspired action that we receive. For me, a lot of the live shares, this is inspired action to me. This is like, ooh, got some juicy nuggets that are feeling good. I want to share them. I want to share them with you guys because they're insights that I get in the moment that are useful to me. So hopefully they're useful to you on some level. But this stuff is so weird, right? When you're going against the grain of the mainstream and people are like, what are you talking about? And like a lot of people still think this is like out there cuckoo-y, and it's like, but those of us following this path are like, it just works, it's the real deal, it's truth. And to keep yoking that, to keep the practice going. It's such an injustice really for me or anyone to think they get to a point and they're like, I'm done. It's like, yeah, but there's more, you know, especially when you're still in a body, there's more to do, there's more expanse, there's more joy, there's more bliss, there's more ecstasy, there's more creation to be had. But there's my 2 cents about don't face reality. Ignore fucking reality. The reality is just what everybody else has always told everybody else. No, you gotta face reality because the reality is shit. So you better stay in your shit if you want to face reality. It's like, no. Ignore reality for a little while until you can feel better. You know, hence, stop watching the news, stop engaging with information that makes you doubt yourself or makes you feel poopy about yourself, and just be who you are. Just shine the light that you are. you know, with all of your failings and all of your weaknesses. That's something as well. The mainstream media upholds this vision of like, yeah, we should all aspire to look this way, have this much money, and live this kind of life. It's like, guess what? Not everybody wants that, you know? And all we have to do usually is yoke a little bit of our own inner aspect to realize we don't want really the life that we're being sold. That is a fucking illusion. And it's a disempowered illusion as well, because it makes us think that we're all unworthy until we get the money, or until we get the job, or until we da-da-da-da-da. So we often get caught up in little like cycles and loops within the bigger loop, because we're still looking for our validation. We're still seeking our own, you know, dynamic, honest self-expression through some external vehicle, rather than just being the vehicle and channeling and guiding your own life and having faith in your ability to create the life that you desire by appreciating the life that you have right now, because you've created it. I know. This is where this work cannot help but dissolve a shitty ego projection, because it's so humbling. You know, like for me to look at my reality and own it all, I'm like, yep, I'm human like everybody else, and humility is the way to go, right? Because, thanks for that comment. You know, because I can feel little threads. That's part of the reason I know that I've played the game that I have when it comes to finances, because I see how much money can fuck with people. And it's, again, not a good thing or a bad thing, but and it's more about my own self-awareness, is that like I can feel the ego sense coming through, that kind of like, it's not actually a very nice energy. So for me personally, I really am working at dissolving that energy as and when, you know, reality morphs and shifts, the inner kind of connection won't be distorted as like different levels of abundance start to appear. I think that's really important for me to stay grounded and real about all this, and just to let you guys know that it's like, yeah, I'm a lot happier than when I was like a kid and when I was a teenager, and I'm a hell of a lot happier than when I was in my 20s. But I'm an emotional creature, and I still have like, you know, tough days, and I still have like, you know, vices and things, and other people will be like, you're da 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 da, and I'm just like, you know what, I just want to accept myself fully with all of the shit as well, you know, like all of like the negative stuff. It's just like, you know what, we're human, and if we can just embrace the totality of what we are, then maybe we can start to harmonize some of our energies and allow people to be who they are. So allow people to just be who they are, you know, like stop telling each other what to do and just love each other. Because this is the refinement of it. I'm realizing, I'm like, there is no one right way. There's no, just because I have this inner process that works for me doesn't mean it's going to work for every single human. You know, it will assist people in getting connected, because I'm connected to the emotional body, and I'm not like a crazy lady on the street with a bunch of cats, although I could pretend to be. But like, I'm an active human in the world, and I'm pretty, like, I'm fully awesome with myself. That's the thing. And the more I do this work, the more I fucking love her. Like, I love this person that I've become, because she's fearless and like, and not afraid to, you know, to shine and express her truth. There was a time when this was not available to me, and I was like 2 or 3 sizes larger, and I was still teaching yoga, but like afraid to like actually speak out about what I felt, you know, because there's a lot of distortion in conscious community. There's a lot of distortion in quote unquote spiritual community, because people are still riddled with judgment and fear and unworthiness. So we go into these spiritual practices with all this unworthiness and try to mask our unworthiness with loads of, thanks M Golf, and try to mask our unworthiness with 500 hours of meditation every day, or like 26 something sun salutations every day, and only if I keep doing sun salutations does it make me a valuable human being. It's the opposite. You know, for me, my yoga only really started to come on leaps and bounds when I listened to me and I stopped listening to other people, and I stopped making myself feel bad for not being able to do it like he did it or she did it. You know, so accepting my authenticity, you know, whether I want to have a bottle of wine or whether I want to smoke a joint or whether I want to have a coffee, so-called like bad stuff, I'm so over it. I'm so over that. It's just like, we're all okay. I have love for the heroin addicts and the people like at the top of the food chain. You know, my only real desired vision is that we can start a communication from the heart space. And from the heart space and the inner eye, be able to like have communication on as wide a scale as possible among us as humans, just to be like, how can we get along better, and how can we share the resources of the planet better, and how can we love each other better, you know? And like having, and here again, it freaks me out, right? Because like the amount of fear that we carry about persecution, and you know, people don't like, in that world, people are like, love's not, you know, okay. And that like, oh, right when I do that, okay, that is like the classic like symbol of female oppression. Like I reckon a lot of girls would really resonate this, like, okay, sweetie, okay, honey, okay, darling. I have had my fucking male peers call me honey and darling and sweetheart, and I'm thinking, you don't call your male work counterparts by these little pet names, do you? So when I talk about love, there's an unconscious program in us, in the system, in the systematic programming, there's like this unconscious okay, love. But it's like, oh my God, people, love is the most powerful force in all of creation. You know, pretty much one of the only reasons we even procreate is because this thing we call love, this magnetism that binds this whole creative force field together. You could see it as like a container. If we didn't have that loving container, none of this would be we would not exist. The backbone of creation. Oh my God, insight 101. The feminine is the dark void, the infinite dark void. The masculine is the light of creation. They too, it's like the yin yang, the darkness and the light, that symbol, right? The feminine and the masculine. We're yoking those two aspects to bring them into better polarity, to bring them into a better harmonic for the totality. It's almost written in the fucking cosmos, yow. If you think about the cycles that the Earth's trajectory is on, it's undeniable that the Earth herself as a being is also on a journey just like us, right? So the more we can harmonize basically self-love, ignore the fucking reality, because the reality we've all been taught to believe in is rigged, you could say, because it's already created, so we might as well just ignore that for a little bit and try to get kind of joyful. Try to figure out what makes you tick. Try to talk about shit that makes you impassioned, and if people put you down, walk away. You know, be willing to walk away from people that don't like you. That's just like something I've had to learn straight up. I'm like, oh right, that's what my intuition was feeling a bit awkward, because none of you people like me. And then often, like, I'll find that out and be like, see, the intuition, it was telling me, but I was too caught up in my program of pleasing people. I have to be a good girl. I have to do what other people tell me because I'm a slave, and unless I'm a good slave, I'm not gonna survive in this world. And I've seen how shit that is. When being a nice person, you can often just get dumped on by people, and they're like, yeah, you're not really da-da-da. And then I realized, oh my God, people just have so many judgments that they don't even realize that they're slapping people with all these ugly judgments, and it's such a shame. Anyway, I'm totally rambling on, but I can see there's people still listening, so I appreciate it. I really, really appreciate you guys listening in. Don't forget to subscribe, because subscribes are the juice of life when it comes to online entrepreneurship. And share the love, share the stuff if you're enjoying it, but mostly subscribe, and go to Alta Love to subscribe, and go to my Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff as well. Please. Please. It's one of those days. I mean, look at me. I'm sat in a car. It's pissing it down. I'm fogging up all my windows. It's getting cold. So I'm going to go so I can turn my heat on, probably go for a little drive. I was going to go for a bicycle ride, but for obvious reasons, I don't think the bicycle ride is going to be that super fun. So instead, I'm going to go for a little drive, listening to my awesome thoughts, ignoring any of the realities of my life that I'm not quite sure what to do about yet, and just see if I can get in the best feeling space ever. And I'll tune in. I'll keep letting you guys know how it goes. Just ignoring and staying pretty happy and chilled out, and also dealing with emotion when it comes up. I had a good cry this morning after I had a little bit of anger and frustration come up whilst speaking to my mother, who doesn't deserve that, but I was just like, anger, fucking can't deal, hang up. So that I didn't progressively get angrier and angrier at her, because she doesn't deserve the brunt of my anger. She's got her own shit to deal with. That's the truth, you know. That's the point of all of our relationships. Everyone has their density. Everyone has their program and their story. So us trying to like micromanage and fix someone else's story doesn't serve us. That's what I was trying to do. I was trying to like micromanage and fix my mom's story. I'm like, God, fucking stop. And that's why I hung up, because I was like, that's not my job. She's on it. She's a fucking powerful, awesome creator. Let her be on it, and then focus on myself. In fairness, I'd woken up and rushed around. I've been feeling quite heightened for a few days, which is why I'm going to go drive and probably meditate a lot today, because I didn't meditate this morning, and that's kind of why I got upset. I had an emotional reaction. I'm sorry. Seriously, that's what it comes to. Like, when you do emotionally react, you're like, oh, I'm not a fucking enlightened master yet. God damn it. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm just a random human being in this world trying to fucking get by, okay. Okay, I'm gonna go. This has been like almost a 27-minute live share. I appreciate you guys tuning in, I really do. Anyway, love you loads. Peace out, y'all. Bye.